Everybody have breakfast, first of all? Does anybody want to grab breakfast before we get started?
So we'll have some opportunities for some Q&A afterwards, just to do some clarifications you may have. I'm super excited, obviously, here today because this is something I've kind of known about for a while, for a few years now, and finally, for me, being this video, person that I enjoy video, this 4K 60 to me is a big deal. I think, and this is to me almost there, right? It's almost there, but I think it's for what it is, it's an amazing balance of a camera. We started launching our first mirrorless camera about in 2012. That was the X Pro 1. It had its limitations, but it was our very first interchangeable mirrorless camera. We then, a few years later, launched a famous X-T3 camera, which is a mirrorless camera designed more in a DSLR style shape. Perfect balance of size and weight. We then launched, of course, the X-T2, which currently right now in its, 5th iteration of firmware updates. It's quite an incredible camera still today, offering things like 4K 30. It really expanded our photographic field, from just the start of street portrait, and repertoire to, all the way up to basically commercial sports and wildlife. We drew the autofocus performance out of that. We started to kick in the gear of video performance, which, as you may have known, working with Fuji cameras in the past, we came from zero and hopefully now to hero in this short time frame. And that's to me, one of my my favorite, things about our Fujifilm system and how we adapt and how we listen and try to improve settings, get feedback from our customers, from our retailers, from Jordan, and a lot of the things we try to implement, and if we could, we do. And we'll talk about firmware updates, and I think that's a great thing with Fujifilm, and I'm starting to see Olympus and other brands start to follow suit a little bit. Obviously there's bug fixes that are there for every type of product, but I think we kind of go beyond that to provide our customers with the best option, and hopefully one day we'll get those X100 users something for them. So today I want to talk about basically our 4th generation camera. This camera basically is featured specs. It's feature rich. To me, there's some key core components to this, and it really has to do with some of the hardware that allows us to expand both in photo and in video. I kind of like to call it cinema now, actually, because the specs that we talk about are very close to cinema specs in our camera. So let's talk about the X-T3 design, right? So we took basically a tried, tested, and true design. It's a perfect balance of size, weight, both the body, the grip, and the lens. So there wasn't much improvement we had to do. We did make the grip a little bit deeper than the original X-T2. It's still a magnesium alloy body, and weather resistant, dust proof, and of course operates down to about -10 degrees Celsius. The design, there's some minor changes. The actual strap eyelid is a little bit higher up now compared to the X-T2. We wanted to free the space up on some of the ports that are available there. So we'll talk about some of the connectors later and some reasons why. There is some minor differences. You notice with the camera, there's just slight edges that have been kind of cut down. And the Japanese designers, they always look for a way where when you look at a camera straight on, how can I make it look smaller and slimmer? And they do small little cuts to the corners in order to achieve that. Whether that be the actual body itself or the dials itself, in that sense. Now, one of the things that, you know, I think you'll find impressive, I have one here, is of course the silver version of this camera. And, you know, for many, with the X-T3, we also launched a special edition, you know, silver, and basically a graphite silver, and, you know, it was a more premium. It went through a very special, you know, paint process, a unique spindle device that electronically merged, you know, paint at a very high velocity. Took a lot of time, but it added, you know, to some customers a higher premium. And so, you know, we now are offering the silver color with no additional premiums to the price. So you can have a choice of black if you want to be, you know, I guess more discreet. And of course, for me, I like the film camera-like look. So to me, the silver black, you know, is, you know, very nice, and I appreciate that. We still stay true to our philosophy of you know, dials and controls, right? And to us, we still, you know, photography is not just about the electronics. There is passion, and I think a lot of our Fujifilm customers have that passion in photography, and I think anyone who's coming into the Fujifilm realm is feeling that passion because they have this more connected sense from things like aperture controls to shutter speed, as well as, you know, things like ISO. So there's been improvements in that side. Okay, the dials themselves have been enlarged, especially the sub-command dial below the shutter speeds and the ISO ring. There's also improvements in the buttons themselves, the way they feel, the way they click, a bit bigger as well. You notice on the back, the AFL, which, you know, you would probably turn on to the AF on button. It's much larger and much easier to be pressed. In addition to that as well, the front and rear command dials have been improved, making it, you know, more substantial when you actually rotate to get that feedback, that click. When you push in and out from both the front and the rear command dials, you have that that feel that you didn't have in the past. And I think that's some improvements that we brought in from customer feedback. In addition to that as well, although, you know, dials are great, sometimes it becomes a very heavily system camera with flash on top, and sometimes you're limited to accessing shutter speeds and ISO. So we've now actually introduced the ability to control aperture through the command dial, whether it's front or rear, you can have your choice. We set the aperture to A, and then you go into the menus, and in the button dial settings, you can select either A or aperture or command dial, which is C controls. Okay, so if you're coming from a DSLR standpoint or a DSLR style control standpoint, then you can use front and rear command dials to adjust aperture and shutter speeds. And some people prefer that, right? And others, of course, like myself, like to have that click feel of the aperture ring on the lens, and hopefully, you know, as people use this camera, they'll hopefully get more, you know, connected with the equipment, you know, beyond sort of just an electronic device. Now, of course, the major upgrade to this camera is really the sensor itself. So it is a back illuminated CMOS sensor using copper wire processing. It is 24 megapixels. It is still 26, what did I say? 26 megapixels,
Young camera
X-trans, CMOS score, working on 3 hours sleep. And of course, it is our 4th generation. Now, you know, one of the key things that we can do with this sensor, of course, it does help a lot with low light. How it allowed us to kind of lower the base ISO to 160, which I think for photo and for video is quite nice. But one of the key points of this new sensor, of course, is that the phase detection area is now 100% coverage. So you got over 2 million pixels that can determine focus, and have over, you know, up to 425 autofocus points, which you can fully adjust, you know, in 6 different sizes and move around within the screen. So to me, I think, you know, autofocus has always been good with Fuji, and I think now that, you know, you have full phase coverage from edge to edge, it's going to make sort of, you know, that tracking of subjects, whether it be, you know, a football player to kids. You know, I think it's going to be very, very impressive. We also improved the algorithm. A new algorithm that helps us do better low light performance, especially when you're shooting astrophotography. So that's, one of the key points for anyone who's, in landscape. Also, with this processor, we have this capabilities of focusing, down to -3 EV. And that's, to me, a big jump coming from the X-T3, which was just -1. And, these are true figures, where, hopefully later tonight, when we have a chance, you have an opportunity to test that out for yourself. Be good so far? Excellent. So to me, that's one key component, of course. And the other component to this is our 4th generation processor. This is actually the X processor 4. So we had 4 iterations of this, starting with sort of the EXR, with the EXR Pro processor. We went then to X-Trans processor, then we moved to sort of an X-Trans 2, and now we're back. Sorry, X-Trans 3, and now we're up to the X-Trans 4, or X processor 4, sorry. Okay, it is quad-core, so there's 4 CPUs operating. This makes us a huge difference for allowing us to achieve things like low light focusing. The algorithm for autofocus is much improved. So we jumped from 60 instantaneous calculations of autofocus to auto exposure now to 240. And what that's going to allow this camera to do is actually achieve better focus, more accurate focus, especially for high frequency subjects. So the calculation is done on the spot, and if we take sort of a single autofocus point, you're looking at 240 different areas. It's reading it horizontally, comparing the phase difference. It's reading it vertically. It's also picking each point as well through that. And that's, very impressive, and it's going to be more accurate. And at the end of the day, whether you're a sports photographer, you're someone shooting portraits, you can get much more keepers in this new camera. So it's a huge thing for us with the sensor, and there's room to grow, and that's great. And as you know, with Fuji, there's always something down the road for investing in a camera like this. It does have the capabilities of independent autofocus as well as auto exposure. And what that allows us to do is to reduce sort of the blackout time. Because back in the days, you used to have autofocus and you had to stop and do auto exposure, and you had to stop. Now it's just constant auto exposure, auto focus. And again, that's going to allow us to improve autofocus, both photos and videos, allow us to do things like face and eye tracking, which I think was good, but I think this is a new level of speed and performance. So for us, when we talk about autofocus, the X-T2, it does carry a lot of its development from that, as well as the X-H1 camera. We've definitely improved face detection. We improved the dictionary inside that allows for better profiling from the sides, front, back. In addition to that as well, the eye detection now, both available in photos and in videos. Also in continuous shooting. So, this is very important, and that's because of the ability for us to achieve both auto exposure and autofocus at the same time. And that's allowing us for much, much better performance in the autofocus side of things. We added a new manual focusing option which you guys can try. It's called digital microprism. Very cool, but at the end of the day, it's just something that you can play with if you're using sort of adaptive lenses, and there's quite a lot of adapters out there for that. Now, the continuous shooting goes up to about 11 frames per second in boost mode. You do not need a grip anymore, and that's the beauty of this thing. There's a better heat sink inside this camera that allows, of course, for high performance. We'll talk about video as well a little bit later. But again, there's some improvements in there. The rolling shutter is much improved. It's about it's 1/60 of a second now, and for most sports, you can technically shoot in the electronic shutter and have much less rolling shutter issues, and you can actually get away with a lot of shots. So down the track, I want you guys to set the camera to the electronic shutter and test out the 30 frames per second. It is no blackout 30 frames per second shooting, which is quite incredible. There's a crop. It's about 1.25, which equates to about a 16 megapixel image. But as you know, 16 megapixels is pretty good, especially when you want to get that image onto Sports Illustrated or anything like that you need to get to. I talked about basically face detection, autofocus, which is big, and you can customize it, like I mentioned, 0.25 points, and of course you can reduce that as well. So the EVF as well, obviously we heard a bunch of announcements, and I think learning from the X-H1, one of the biggest stories from everyone was how great that EVF was, and we took that and we brought it into the X-T3. So much higher resolution. You got 3.6 million dots. It's an organic LED display. You have 100 frames per second refresh rate, so it's super fast, and approximately a magnification of about 0.75. Again, it's the same EVF, but we did add a few things based on customer feedback. There's a locking mechanism on the side here, so like a watch, you pull, you twist, push in to lock in, which is nice. The display lag is, I think, 0.0005, if you wanted the numbers to that. We also increased the eye sensor response. So when you pull the camera to your eyes and pull it away, it's much quicker, there's not that delay. And again, if you want to put a number to that, it's about 0.15 seconds in terms of its reaction time. And if you do put the EVF to your eyes, it is now 3 millimeters away from the back of the screen, making it much better, of course, reducing any smudges on the LCD or accidental touch if you have the touch screen controls that's on the camera. So talking about touch screen, of course, the X-T2 did not have that, and we've actually included this now with the X-T3. It is a 3-way tilt touch screen, and it's approximately 1.04 million dot display. I think the resolution is great, and using the EVF at 3.6 even better if you want to really check focus, especially shooting in outdoors for summer. Now, I think everyone's always been asking for the camera to have better connections, and I think we started with things like a 2.5 millimeter mic input, and things like that, and of course we got you, we heard you, and we've actually incorporated this into the body now. Definitely. So you got a 3.5 mic, you got a 3.5 headphone, the actual mechanism for the audio inside actually has been improved as well, so it's not in the same as the X-H1 or even X-T2, so there's improvements in that side of things. We've gone to USB-C, which is very important, and I'll talk about that, and the fact that it does provide for better battery charging. You get about 390 shots to charge with this new camera. In comparison to the X-T2, it's about 340 shots. And the reason why we're getting a little bit more shots out of this is because of the efficiency of the sensor and the processor. So even though it's more powerful, double the performance of the X-T2 sensors and processor, we have much reduction in the sensor and processor itself eating energy. So we get more shots per charge. A new thing, of course, too, is that I have this battery adapter here. This is actually just a standard battery pack. It's a high capacity battery pack. This one here is about 26,800 milliamps. The camera can now be powered with a pack like this. And last night in my hotel, I had the X-T3 powered on high performance mode, turned off basically the power saving on it, and basically after 5 hours, okay, the battery on the camera dropped just by 1 bar, and basically no loss to the battery on this one here. So that's just 5 hours of basically LCD on constantly, and that's quite incredible. So if you're looking to expand, you have options. We'll talk about the grip a little bit later, but also you have the battery pack option if you're really in the field and you're going beyond the battery limits that you need. Of course, you can always buy extra MPW 126 batteries as well. When you do add the grip, and I'll talk about the grip, you do get about 1,100 shots. Of course, that's with the 2 additional batteries. So everyone here has, a kit with the grip available for you guys. And if you want to try it out too later on, you can do this. We do recommend this particular model, and the reason for that is because it does have a high capacity output. So standard battery packs are about 5 volts output. This can output 9 volts, which our camera uses, 15 volts, and even 30 volts. So it's quite powerful. So if you are using just a compact one, it's not going to power the camera. It will charge if you power the camera off. Okay? When you have it connected and you have the camera turned off, the back of the LCD or the back of the LED display on the back will show that it's charging. When you power the camera on, okay, you won't see the LCD, but if the battery inside the camera is fully charged, it actually be utilizing the external battery pack. Okay, so it's going to keep that internal battery as charged as possible, although there's still a little bit of a trickle charge to it. So as I mentioned, about 5 hours, the bar did drop by 1, and the battery pack still kept going, and I could probably have this camera on that standby mode for quite a long time, right? The full screen. Of course, every camera nowadays is connected, and I think adding Bluetooth to the X-T3 is great. One of my favorite features, of course, is that we added this Bluetooth remote option into it. So you don't have to buy a trigger anymore. You can pull up your smartphone, and because it's Bluetooth, it's always connected to your camera, meaning that just open up the app and you can just trigger the camera instantly. Also, of course, you can do geotagging with Bluetooth, so it has a constant connection, and that's great. Now, Wi-Fi, of course, is still there because of the massive size and the ability for Wi-Fi to transfer really quick and large images. In addition, of course, we can connect this camera to an Instax share printer, same thing, and you have to play one of those, to me, kind of cool, especially if you're doing documentary work and visiting countries where, you're taking pictures of people and you have nothing to give back. That's a great opportunity to kind of have with you. There's some new features we've added. There's quite a lot. I'm going to leave it to you with the press release to see all those features. Some of the key ones I want to talk about basically are some of the tone adjustments. We got sort of a warm and cool tone adjustment on the camera now to monochrome and acros. So you can get sort of that unique look to the image. And I think it's really nice. I like the cool tone actually. It makes the image very, very unique, especially when shooting with acros. Also, we have the color chrome effect feature that was found on the GFX. But unlike the GFX, you can shoot with color chrome and continue shooting because the processing on this camera is super fast and it allows for things like that. Of course, if you're shooting raw, you can also implement the color chrome effect afterwards when you're doing raw camera processing. Now, because of the sensor readout at 1/60th of a second, we're able to actually incorporate this new feature called Sports Finder mode. And in the Sports Finder mode, if you're using the mechanical shutter, you get up to 11 frames per second, of course, mechanical shutter, but you get this little frame. And this frame gives you a way of kind of tracking, it helps you track a moving subject and follow that subject, giving you sort of a bigger window to see where that subject's going to go, anticipate it, and it then gives you sort of a 1.25 crop, again about 16 megapixels, okay? But if you take Sports Finder and you combine it with sort of the electronic shutter, right? Then you're getting basically this 30 frames per second blackout time that you can track something on. It's like filming a video without knowing you're filming a video, but you're actually taking 30 frames in that one single second. That's a great mode if you guys want to try that out. You'll also really test the rolling shutter capabilities in the photo side of things, and I think that's nice to have. There's also been a request, and we've done it now with raw shooters. So if you're just shooting purely raw, there's a much larger preview embedded into this. So again, if you are editing in things like photo mechanics or whatnot, you get a much better preview, and you're not really looking at a very low resolution image. Also, we added things like flicker reduction to this camera that the X-H1 had, and all those features that the X-H1 has is here as well. So saying that, of course, this is to me my favorite part, and definitely I want you guys to go Hollywood with this camera today if you can, to put it into perspective. We have this great combination of camera and lenses, and there's so many video features to talk about. And the reason for this is, when we didn't really design this to be a video camera per se, but because of the sensor and processor's capability, we're able to offer these higher video features, or cinematic features as you would call it. So you got DCI 4K and an APS-C size sensor or Super 35. You got options of H.264 or H.265 compression, which is a much more efficient compression, making the file size smaller while retaining better image quality. You got 4K 60 frames per second, and you get that at 10 bits. So we're jumping from 16 million colors to over 1 billion colors. 1 billion colors. So again, when you're filming the skies, you're not going to get those banding that you get when you're shooting in 8-bit. You have up to 400 megabits per second bit rate. That's at 30 frames per second. And of course, you have the options of long GOP or on intra. And if you're a video editor, on intra is nice because it just makes the computer work a lot less, since all the image in the frame actually exists and they're not being processed. Now, 4K 60, similar to the X-T3, there is a slight crop. It's a 1.18 times crop, which is very, very little. The thing about 4K 60, of course, is it's a full readout. It's a high. It's not kind of upscaling anything. It's reading up 6,000 pixels by 5,000 and 4,000, and pulling it back down into sort of this 4K side of things. So very good image quality compared to say the E3 and X-T3. Those are line skip 4K. Okay, which is okay for the average customer, but for cinematographers, you want, of course, the utmost top quality. At 4K 30, there's no crop. Okay. Now the great thing is, without the grip, you get 30 minutes now of video per clip. At 4K 60, it's about 20 minutes per clip. Okay, so that's a jump from the 15 minutes limitations of the 4K 30. You have, of course, F-log recording, and we do offer, of course, LUTs available for that, both, for via and e-tuner.
Sorry, Billy, with the grip, what's the numbers on that?
With the grip, it's similar. So it's a 30.
It's still 20 minutes on
30,
4K60.
That I'm not 100% sure yet, because the specification is kind of not there for us, but I can get back to you on it. Very good question. I think I'm going to say maybe, but I have to get back to you guys on it. Okay? But I think, if you're going beyond 20-minute clips, there's some concerns there, depending on what you're filming. But, you have 4K recorders that you can use that break that limit.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with heat, but it's actually not heat on the sensor or the processor. It's more of sort of a health heat kind of material where your hands get very hot. And we have to take precautions on the camera's actual physical exterior to be beyond a certain heat to keep safe guidelines that we put in place. So, I think in the past maybe I may have mentioned something about sensor and things overheating and such, and maybe I made a mistake on that. But eat my words a little bit. But it's more about the safety side of things, and we'll see with the grip. If that does extend at least the 4K 60 part of it, because the grip then takes the bottom plate away from your hands, allowing hopefully a little bit more. We'll see. 420 SD card, the SD card, 10-bit. I think really to me that's a huge specification to get 10-bit into an SD card. Of course, you got 422 HDMI out, 10-bit. We've lowered the log, so F-log now base is ISO 640. No longer it's up to 800, so that's going to make it much better for cleaner images when you're shooting, especially for DR400. That's in this camera, it's 12-bit. You've added zebra highlight warnings. One of the things that, of course, Jordan from DP Review has mentioned about wanting for pretty much the existence of Fuji started videos. Time code is kind of in there
4K 60-20 minutes.
With the grip? With that?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, we know.
We were just wondering with the grip.
With the grip,
Yeah.
sorry about that.
Yeah, the specifications are actually not there, but I'll follow up with actually the product development team to see. Okay, of course, face and eye detection. You know, to me, I think we were good, but you know, with this new sensor and processor technology, this processor especially, and the fast readout of the sensor, eye detection is you know, I think now on par with the top you know, cameras that have eye detection. I don't know if you saw some videos last night. I was up at 12 o'clock Eastern time to you know, refresh my screen and watch all these comments and videos. And you know, I was happy to see that you know, with the most development firmware that we had on this camera, the eye detection was quite good. And it's a huge jump. And for me, it's not just about videos, but also about photos. The fact that I can concentrate on a scene for composition and let my camera ensure that I get focusing on the eye, to me that's a huge benefit, and that's one thing I like to see, which of course is there now. There's again so much video components to this this camera that I can't really mention, but if you guys check the menus itself, you can go and see some of the options that are there. Again, it's 12-bit dynamic, 12 stops of dynamic range in video. Now, what I like about the Fuji system is that we actually prepared a little bit for this by having these cinema lenses available, these MKX lenses. And you know, we have an opportunity to use these MKX lenses as well. We have a few sets for you to try out. And if you haven't used it before, I can tell you this, okay? The XF18 to 55, right? Great kit lens. You step to the XF16 to 55, oh my God. For video, this is amazing. You pop in the MKX 18 to 55 2.9, T2.9, and it's a whole different level. You know, I don't know what the term is. I like to call it crunchiness or crispiness. That's just so ridiculous how much resolution that the MKX can pull out of this sensor. It is amazing, and hopefully you guys will see that today. And pair this with, you know, two of these MKX lenses, right? You got the 18 to 55, and then you got the 50 to 135. You'll see, you know, one of the things about our cinema lens, of course, is that there's connectors on it that transfer lens information, and very useful for sort of color correction, chromatic corrections that we can do. And I think, you know, to me, MKX's cinema lenses is just a whole new level. You know, if you never filmed with a cinema lens, it's just so amazing in the quality on it. Down the road, we'll have a firmware update by the end of 2018, and we're going to introduce hybrid log gamma, which is HDR, and that's in a hybrid color space, BT2100. That's going to sort of expand. You know, obviously you go to, you know, YouTube, you can see the HDR logos come up on HDR compatible TVs. And so this camera will be a very easy way of filming HDR content right out of the camera itself. Eterna, you know, please try Eterna. When I went to Japan, you know, when we launched basically the XH1, and I had my hands on filming Eterna in a real life situation, I was blown away. Just the look of it, if you're just really wanting to get into video and want simplicity without the color grading, right? Because color grading, honestly, it's not the easiest job in the world, and Eterna just makes it so easy. You know, it's a nice base for you to start if you just want simple footage out of the camera, and then make some adjustments to that as well. We shoot our videos, Fuji guys videos in Eterna. We don't use actually F-Log. And we actually just, you know, set shadows and highlights to -2, and then do color correcting from that point on. Just easier for us to do than to do F-Log recording. But saying that, now that we have highlight warnings, zebra highlight warnings, we're probably going to start to film an F-Log internal with this camera. Every video that we do now is filmed with X-T3. I was going to say the code name, but I'm talking about this code name that we put on our cameras for the last few years. All right, handling them on the camera is a little better. I mentioned the grip itself in the body is there, but you do have this vertical battery grip. You know, so I'm not saying a vertical boosted grip anymore. It's a vertical battery grip. The grip doesn't add any boost mode to it, although there's a switch to turn it on and off. It really adds the ergonomics of shooting in a portrait mode, especially when using that three-way tilt. You know, it's very useful for that. You have all the controls, right? You got front and rear command dials, the AF lever that you can quickly move things on, or you can use, of course, the touch screen to move the 425 autofocus points. Everything that we improved, the command dials and all that, it's also included in the grip. The advantage of buying the grip though is that, of course, you can use 2 additional batteries, which extends the total life of the system to about 1100 shots per charge. It does come with an AC adapter and doubles as a charger. So if you wanted to get a dual charger, you know, you can just buy this and get the AC adapter. And also, you know, if you think about powering the camera for a longer period of time, you can run it off the AC, you know, using the grip. The grip now just doesn't have, of course, the headphone jack, because that's in the body. Again, just please play with that. We also offer, if you don't want this full-fledged grip, we have a metal hand grip available. It does have an Arcus grip base on it to quickly use compatible tripods. We have a leather half case if you know, you're into the faux retro style colors and leather all in one. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you know, you want to take photos, but sometimes you want to look good taking photos, right? And I think, you know, it just makes you want to take more photos when you get out there. And you want people to come up to you and say, "Oh my God, you're still shooting with film. That's amazing." You know, and that, you know, I think that's one of the cool things about this camera.
Sure, Billy, is it interchangeable, the XT, the grip from the X-T2 and the X-T3? Because I know physically they're the same, but do you guys not recommend? You recommend?
They're not compatible actually. So you do have to get this grip. The other grip does not attach. Of course, there's issues with the headphone being on it, causing a conflict on it. In addition to that, of course, you know, there's difference with the USB-C and charging that we need to handle, and so the grip is slightly different. The grip is designed actually different as well. If you notice, it's a much higher profile for better handling. In addition to that, if you're doing video recording, no longer will the video stop when one battery depletes. So it just continues, and that's really the reason for the updated grip itself. That's huge for me actually. And even in continuous shooting, if you're firing a bunch of shots and you're in the action and the battery depletes, it doesn't switch, it doesn't stop, it continues on. So it's a seamless transition. In addition to the seamless transition, of course, the SD relay recording as well. We have 2 cards in. I hopefully did say there's 2, you know, ultra high speed 2 card slots, affordable SD card slots in this camera. And of course, what you guys have with you is actually V90 rated cards. The reason why we have you guys V90 rated cards today is because this camera does shoot at 400 megabits per second. If you do the bits and bytes conversion, you're looking at 50 megabytes. So you look at your card and it says, you know, class 10, that ain't happening for 400 megabits, right? If you look at, you know, UHS, you know, U3, that ain't happening at 400 because it's only a minimum of 30 megabytes, right? So we're giving you a V90 card to use today to allow you to shoot 400 megabit per second content. All right. What's a system without lens, right? We started in 2012, and we just launched these 2 amazing lenses. You have the ability to use these today. The XF 200mm f2. This is an amazing lens. It's super sharp. IS is incredible. You know, one of the things we wanted to do was to maintain image quality. So, you know, you don't have a typical drop-in filter like some of the other ones out there. It adds dust issues. It also adds some reflection issues when it's very close to the sensor. So we minimize that by ensuring that the front lens has a compatible filter. We are offering that filter as well as a protector, but there's actually, it's a very, you know, that filter size is available. You know, that's going to give you the utmost image quality. You'll have a chance to try it out at the tracks, do some hopefully panning. You know, if you want some tips on panning, of course I've been into the Fuji Speedway in Japan, I've been to the Circuit of America, it's in the US, and of course most recently back in Japan in a different circuit. So I kind of have a better understanding of how to do that and Japan. So if you need that tip, we'll be there for you. Also, we introduced the 8 to 16, and this is incredible. The XF 8 to 16 millimeter, you know, super wide, ultra wide, but there's no distortion. You know, it's not like a fisheye lens, and that's really a feat, you know, for us. And so, you know, this is a great lens to shoot low angles on. If you're at the track, we do have, you know, some exotic cars to shoot, get down low, get that unique angle to it, do a Dutch tilt if you need to, put some vignette at the edge of that, and you're good to go as a sports, you know, sports-based photographer. Saying that, of course, right? We did launch a lens roadmap, and you know, I don't know if you are, but I'm excited, you know, to get my hands on the 33mm f1.0. This is an autofocus lens, so that itself is an achievement because the lens on the 33mm lens is so big, you know, so it's making a new development of these focusing motors to even offer, you know, autofocus in a lens like this. Also, we're gonna launch sort of an f4, 16 to 70mm. That's really a very common focal length lens if you're in DSLR, especially the, you know, the 24-105 equivalency. That's, you know, the favorite of amongst, you know, some other brand of users there, red stripe users right there. Also, you know, to continue our very compact lens, you know, we're launching the 16mm f2.8. And, you know, to me, that's going to be a nice addition to basically our Fujicron, if some calls it. We got the 16 2.8 that we're launching. We got the 23mm f2, the 35 f2, one of my favorite lenses. It's always on my camera. And then, of course, the 50 f2. And hopefully down the road, we will expand on that based on, you know, user demands on that side of things. But natively speaking, you know, we have 28 lenses, and then we factor in, you know, Zeiss lens, the 2.8 lens. You know, we've added 3 more lenses to that lineup, and we're at 31 lenses, right? And you know, then we add these upcoming lenses for 2019, and we got really a full system. And this is all started from 2012, and every single lens that we created, you know, has exceptional image quality. You know, down to even the kit, 18 to 55. So let's just take a quick look at comparisons, really quickly, as you can see right there. You know, the last generation was basically a X Processor Pro. We've gone to now the 4th generation. This is a quad-core CPU. One of the great things about this CPU, of course, is that it's going to make firmware updates much easier for us. Okay, you know, I get all the comments, I read all the comments, and you know, I give those comments to our development team in Japan all the time, and I say, you know, on this camera there's firmware updates, on this one, why can't you do Control-C, Control-V? You know, I like to see this feature on that camera. Can you not just do that? It's the same sensor, same processor, but actually there's some limitations with the processor. And this new processor is going to allow us to do Control-V more often and much easier, if you want to call it that. Nice low base ISO, as I mentioned earlier. Low light focusing is down to -3, so please try that out tonight. We'll be up at the top of this, you know, X hotel that we're in here, and you know, you'll see that. And also, of course, you know, anyone who's coming in for the very first time into mirrorless, right? Sometimes it's a shocker. It's like, am I looking at an LCD or am I looking at an optical viewfinder of my DSLRs? And you'll see that 3.6 million dots, 100 frames per second refresh rate. You know, there's no lag in panning and trying to, you know, move with the subject. And I think that is key to the mirrorless side of things. Also, you look at basically video side of things. It's actually a huge jump, right? You got DCI 4K. You got 4K at 60 frames per second. You got 10-bit, you know. You got 400 megabits bit rate now, which of course you require that very fast card. You got Alt Intra. If for the editing guys, that's going to make life so much easier. And if you're shooting Alt Intra, we actually develop a noise reduction for that. So if you're filming sort of more static shots, interviews, not really big movements, that's going to benefit you from shooting in low light. Okay, and that's big. If of course you're shooting action shots, everything's going on around, you know, and you're shooting all infra, I would turn off the all infra noise reduction option. Down the road, as I mentioned, in end of 2018, I will have hybrid log camera logged into this, which is HDR. We will also have simultaneous log recording with film simulation preview. You know, so you can shoot log and still see Eterna, which is going to make life a little bit easier for film. Again, these are things that, you know, we get you, we hear it, you know, and we're just trying to make that step closer for you to make it. So to me, spec-wise, it's a super strong camera. You know, 4th generation technology. I want you guys to put it to its test today. Set it to electronic shutter, use the non-blackout time option there. Try out the sports finder. You know, look at video side of things and test that out, max it up. You know, I would set it to DR400 and maximize that. Also, you know, on the touch side of things, you know, we haven't had it set, but you know, I like having this independent video settings. In the menu itself, there's basically what's called what is it? Sort of the video side for touch. Let me pull that up for a second. Silent shooting mode. Yes. It's such a bad name. I get you. To me, it's not about silent shooting mode for me. Actually, what it is independent video mode. And what I do is that, you know, on that, I do photos and videos, right? I'm shooting pictures of my kids, and I'm swapping to video. But when I do that, you know, with the silent shooting mode option, I'm actually getting independent, you know, aperture and ISO settings that I configure myself, and that's key. And what's best about that is that I tap the screen, but I use the joystick. The joystick to me is the best invention ever made, and it's so easy to navigate that silent option to adjust ISO and film simulation modes, shutter speeds, and aperture. Okay?
Does XH1 do that as well?
X1 does do that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Just people didn't realize that, you know, you had to only use touch, but actually the joystick allows you to navigate with that. So just tap the screen to get the independent settings.
Okay.
So you're saying that that's like a video priority setting?
You can ask me. Okay.
Sorry, you were talking to Joel. I think I got lost on this silent shooting mode thing. The
So-
benefit that you were talking about.
So silent shooting mode just has independent settings aside from the shutter speed and aperture physical dials.
Right.
So if I have for photo, my ISO and shutter and aperture set, when I switch it to video, it keeps those settings, right? But I'm shooting video, and if I'm shooting 60 frames a second, I want that, you know, 180 rule, right? So I want to shoot at 120 frames per second. So when I turn on silent shooting, I have independent settings. It ignores my ISO dial, it ignores my shutter speed dials and aperture dials, right?
And they're set exclusively on the touch screen, or
You use the touchscreen to bring that menu up,
okay.
but you can use touchscreen to adjust. I use the joystick to adjust, and that's sort of my tip. In fact, you know, as much as I love touch, you know, and touch is great, especially in playback mode for pinch, zoom, and panning. That's intuitive. You know, I think Apple did it right off the bat, and it's pretty much everywhere. But when it comes to autofocus points and adjustments, to me the joystick is a godsend. And you know, to me, that's one of the big things. It's not really a new feature, but it's one of the big things. Okay?
I got a question about the 120 FPS down here.
Yes.
200 megabits per second?
Yes. So 200 megabits per second, but also, and this is something, you know, I guess everyone's gonna know now, right? Is that, you know, 120 high speed, Full HD at 120 frames per second actually was half line skip and quarter line skip, right? That was the X-T2 and XH1, okay? With this sensor and processor, there is no upscaling whatsoever. So you're gonna get, you know, less Moravian images, and you'll see that right off the bat. The quality of it is much better. The higher bit rate is so much better as well, and it's gonna really make, you know, 120 frames per second really useful. Saying that, 4K 60 is where it's at, because it has flexibility. You're filming, and you pull down to 24 to get cinematic slow-mo in a way, and you can bring it back up if you need to. And to me, I would almost exclusively use 4K 60 for most of the shot, but you know, of course, you know, people love the B-rolls, the slow-mo B-rolls, and so the Full HD is a very good improved setting now. Also, as I mentioned, it's not upsampled, right? It's now actually has oversampled and creating sort of the high-speed option on it. This camera is going to be available September 20th at retail. Okay, so on that date, you should be able to walk to your Fujifilm authorized retailer and buy this camera worldwide. Australia might be a little bit earlier. The body itself is $18.99 Canadian. And of course, it does have a kit option, the 18 to 55 2.8 f4. A very good lens with image stabilization, and that's $2,399. Okay, so that concludes sort of my media presentation. I'm opening up to more questions about it that you may have. And sorry, we just announced this last night, so it's a little bit hard to kind of grasp everything in. I provided you guys with some cheat sheets for you to have. Also at the back of it, you'll notice again the video settings on the back, so you can see all the options and modes for that. That's available. So hopefully you guys are excited as me, because I'm super hyped about this camera.
Sorry, did you have an MSRP on the silver one?
Yeah, it's the same price. So there is no premium anymore. So if you want to buy the silver, you're still paying $18.99. Yes.
I have a couple questions. The grip will be like $4 probably. The other ones. Yeah.
The grip, yes. I have to get back to you on the you can get all the pricing actually from our PR.
Okay.
And it'll be on our website as well. But it's going to be approximately that. But in Canada, we are offering a special when you pre-order grip with the camera.
Sorry to correct that, it won't be pre-ordered. It's an introductory offer, so it's going to be ongoing whether you're pre-ordering or not.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
If you buy the grip to get that extra charger, right, and the AC adapter, you can charge, you know, you are going to save some money, especially if you're in the True North, strong and free. Yeah.
With that, I have one more question. So it seems like the camera's a lot less dependent on the grip than the X-H1 was. It does have a boost mode switch on it. Does that mean you can enable the boost in the menu or somewhere
Correct.
else as well without the grip?
Yes. So as the X-T2 in the menu, you can always enable boost and performance mode, and like go to performance and change boost to normal, right?
It's
But
also on the
but with the grip, when you attach it, if you have it on boost and you switch it to normal, it switches it to normal.
In the menu as well as on the dial.
It overrides it.
It overrides it, right?
And with this, it seems, I know you said some of the specs you're still working on, but it seems like most of the functionality doesn't really change. Is there something that the grip does add that I might not have thought about?
Yeah, ergonomics. So the way.
Sorry,
the
other than
handle-
the obvious, like in the
right.
system or whatever, you know.
No, it's really a battery grip, vertical
Nice.
battery grip now. You do have controls like AF joysticks, rear front command dials. All the buttons are there to mimic the shooting in portrait mode, right?
Right.
You have all that. You can add 2 extra batteries with it, of course.
Well, I appreciate the benefits. I just mean you're not losing anything by taking it off, which is pretty great. That's
Right,
awesome.
so you're not losing. So if you buy the body only, you got everything. You know,
awesome, yeah.
but if you are like full-time shooting portraits, you're in the studio all day long, the ergonomics of the vertical grip is there, plus the extra battery is there, and the balance, if you're definitely using an XF200 lens that you'll be using today, or the 100-400, that's going to give you a nice feel overall to that. Also, today in video, if you wanted to and you have it on a gimbal, you can notice here, you can pull that off, and the door comes off. Okay, we will make available a cover kit, which includes these tops, the bottom rubber key points. So if you do end up losing it, you can actually purchase it again at a Fuji authorized retailer. You want to try that out? Back in. Very nice on that. It's sealed, like I said, in over 60 plus points. So again, very good for shooting in pretty much any condition. And as you know, if you haven't used a Fuji camera, it is really sealed well.
One more question about the boost mode.
Yeah.
This time, independent of the grip. Other than the drive speed increasing, is there anything else that changes with boost mode being enabled?
Yeah, so the EVF frame rate goes from 60 frames to 100 frames per second.
Okay.
So all the specifications I mentioned in terms of speed and performance, it's all through the boost option, right? So, you know, the EVF is faster, rate, the shutter lag time and shutter time is reduced as well because of the higher performance, right?
The shot count based on the battery, is that based on boost being on or off?
No, most manufacturers will let's put it on standard mode. So the 390 shots compared to the 340 shots will both standard modes for X-T2 and X-T3.
Okay.
So we're getting still, you know, 50 more shots out of the battery because of the efficiency of both the sensor and the processor. And then of course you got the grip option, and you got this bad boy right here that's going to provide hours of video enjoyment.
And then lastly, do you know what the drive mode speed is, or the drive speed is without boost mode enabled? Is it like 8 or something?
Yeah, so the standard without boost is 8 frames per second, and with the boost mode turned on, it's 11 frames per second. Okay, you got continuous, you know, focusing. You got, you know, eye detection in that as well now. So it's kind of, you know, again, this new sensor, this 4th generation sensor processor, it's gonna allow us to do so much more in terms of, you know, the next gen.
Will Fuji service be offering the option to adjust the shutter tension?
Oh, this is actually, the shutter release on this is not like the X-T1, which is a spring release. So this one is very similar to the X-T2.
It's a lot less spongy.
It's there, so there's really no adjustment in this side of things. I think you're more referring to the X-H1's more soft release, which, you know, if you have some concerns, please contact us, you know, at our Fujifilm service, and we have some options available to make some of those adjustments.
This, you may have covered this, but I was distracted at the moment. The 60p 10-bit out, is that affected by the 1.18 crop, or is it
Yes, it's still a 1.18 crop.
with 60p out?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, 1.18 crop is, you know, the X-T2 actually was 1.17, right? If you think about it, you know, it's very minor, right? Like, if you have a 50mm lens, and you times it by 1.17,
Yeah, it's not much.
50,
Yeah.
54, right? If you do 18mm and you do that, you know, you can film kind of yourself and rely on face detection.
So that question was over HDMI, it still has the
Yeah.
same crop? Okay.
Yeah,
Now, 4K 30, of course, is no crop.
Right.
exactly.
And again, this is, you know, this is over sampling, right? With no line skipping. So you're getting top quality, you know? And, you know, I've other plans, like I'm thinking with the development team. So hopefully down the road we have something more. Is that still recording?
This one?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Is that still recording?
This is still going, yeah. Actually, a couple of questions from online, Billy. Is AFC, the eye control, that works in AFC,
Yes,
it
yes,
doesn't matter
yes,
what mode
yes,
you're in? Okay.
yes. That's the magic of this new sensor processor. It's quite amazing. It gives us more range. And as we improve, you know, down the road, as you know, you know, from our updates, you know, you'll see we can probably end up maximizing the potential of this and, you know, offer more and hopefully more in video, if anything.
I have another question for you about the ISO. What is the native ISO that has no signal gain applied? Is it a 640?
It's
or
160.
160?
So the base is 160. So,
Often though, like with
sorry,
often though
maybe-
the base ISO still isn't. I guess like what I'm asking is like what the cleanest ISO is, the one where if I were to look at like the signal would be 0 dB, like. 'cause
right. So ISO 60 is a base ISO in this camera, right? It used to be a 200 ISO base, okay? The truth of it all is actually you can make whatever low ISO you want. It's the CMOS sensor, it's a backside illuminated sensor, it's copper wire. Truthfully, at the end of the day, it's sensitive, right? You know, so if you just low base ISO, you lose dynamic range. So you have to have a perfect balance of you know, this special curve that we developed that offers you know, much better details pulling from the shadow areas. And that's why I always say, you know, expose one way to pull it back in, because you can always pull shadows in, right? And that's the uniqueness of how we developed our, you know, sensor and our base ISO.
Can, further to that,
So at the end of the day, if you look at other manufacturers, right? You know, they can offer 100 ISO but it's because of some sort of give. Because the native sensitivity is still, you know, for most CMRs, it's going to be, you know, 200. So even at 160, there's probably no noise. 160, 200, there's no noise difference.
Where is the greatest dynamic range though? At what ISO?
Well, the base ISO on this is for dynamic range is DR400, which is 640.
640. So 640 have the greatest dynamic range.
You have
If you set your camera to DR400.
You have the best quality, but you can increase, of course, you know, up to 800 if you wanted to, right? You know, ISO 640 is super clean, and you know that to me is key. You know, not just shooting in bright sunlight, which you know any camera can do and get great, you know, low noise, but shooting in low light, and that's going to be the improvements that you see with this camera. Dave silent today?
No, it's good.
You on silent? Silence is golden.
I'm taking it all in.
Of course, it's, you know, a mirrorless camera, so there is different shooting modes on it. Just quickly, there's mechanical shutter, right? There is the electronic shutter, which has now, like I said, a rolling shutter of 1/60 of a second, and there's electronic front curtain shutter. And that means the sensor is turning on is the first curtain, and there's a physical rear curtain at the end of that. So that works, of course, with flash and not have issues with, you know, fluorescent lighting and stuff like that, right? But today, shoot electronic shutter for a bit, right? Try it out. You'll be pleasantly surprised on what you're achieving for action shots, and actually continuous autofocus is actually quite nice. AFC is actually very good on ES. In fact, it might be even better in ES mode than it is in mechanical shutter.
One more question for you.
Yeah.
I remember when you were talking about the AF points. Is when you're in video on any of the video settings, is it like a hybrid with contrast, or is it the PD all the way, all the lows all the time with the autofocus?
It's phase detection now, right?
Exclusively
But it
across.
depends on the lighting situation, right? So contrast works better in certain lighting situations. The camera will automatic. It's still a hybrid, right? But we have full face coverage for the whole sensors.
And it doesn't gimp itself in any way when you switch it to video. It still uses the same phase effect.
Right.
As it configured.
Yes, it's very good. So please try it out. Please try continuous autofocus, and you'll see the improvements that we've made to it. You know, you don't see the wobbling that you might get. You don't see the pulsing. You know, it tracks very well both face and eye detection. And you know, and if you're doing just, you know, zone focusing, and you use zone for tracking, it's absolutely amazing. You know, whether such it's coming towards you, or you know, moving side to side. I'm thinking of Jordan running. So I am.
I think it's too.
We're going to be heading out in about 20 minutes, so if you have any other questions, just kind of say them. You can ask Billy and Jerry as we're en route to our activity. If you need to use the washrooms, there's a washroom in here, and then if you go out to the right, there's a washroom over there. Please eat more food. And
Alright guys, so thanks for joining me live, and I'm gonna be going on Instagram and doing other things, so thanks for watching.
Yeah, Jerry. I don't know if you guys can speak to the technical stuff. I'm having an issue.
So you guys will be, I think, in a limo or something. And Jerry will be there. Mark will be there. I'm gonna be there.
Hey guys, so thanks for joining. The media event is now over. Sorry I didn't give earlier warning about it. I don't even have a proper microphone set up, so the audio is not so great. I'm sure Mark doesn't even want to be on camera, but this is my new point man. This is live YouTube.
Yes, I see that.
So, oh, you were watching?
No, I'm not.
You should have been commenting, but Mark is very busy because he's answering emails. But we were emailing each other last night at 2:30 in the morning. Like I always use 12-year-old girl, but it could be a 12-year-old boy as well. But you're excited?
Oh, I'm super excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited. You're excited. And we'll see what goodies I bring back to Vancouver and create more content for you guys. So keep an eye This is Mark. Say hi, everyone.
Everyone?
And I'm gonna try to get an interview with him a little bit later, right? So there's 103 people watching right now, not.
Hey guys.
All right, so I don't even know how to stop video on YouTube Live. Billy, when will X Pro? You know what, guys? I'm not gonna ask Billy or anyone about stuff that they can't answer, like X Pro 3, that kind of stuff. But I mean, I'll ask him off camera. All right, I'll ask him off camera, and I'm gonna stop this now. Thanks for joining, and we'll talk to you soon. I'm gonna have fun shooting today with. We have two copies. We all have two copies of. We have two copies of the. We have like oh, sorry. No. We have two copies of X-T3 and another X-T3 and lenses. And for those of you that, sorry, give me a second here, guys. Sorry for the noise here. So for all those wondering, and to me, we can discuss this a little bit later here. It's quieter out here. We'll discuss this a little bit later, but the X-T3, at least on these pre-production models, the X-T3 is made in China. It's not made in Japan anymore. Although you have to think about when it says made in, it's more about assembled in. Because if you think about it, the sensor is made by Sony for Fujifilm to Fujifilm specs. And so inside anything that's electronic, components are coming in from Korea, from Japan, from Taiwan, from China, from Japan, and it's all being assembled in certain countries. And so, but I'll confirm all that a little bit later. To me, it doesn't really make a big difference. I think the reason why they go to the Chinese factory is so that they can pump out cameras faster, because the Japanese factory is not that big, and so I think they're saving that for Japan still. So I think that's kind of where that stands. And so thanks for watching, and keep watching me on I think Instagrammers are going to be doing a lot of Instagram lives. So, and faster and cheaper for sure, yeah. And if you look at the pricing of the X-T3, I don't think that would have been possible if it was made in Japan. So that's it. We'll talk to you soon. Happy shooting.